Good morning everyone and welcome back to a best of 3 series of professional StarCraft 2. It's the Monday over here in the Netherlands and I'm once again starting the week with some good old StarCraft. So usually I like to take Sundays off. I mean, apparently it's important to take time away from the keyboard or something and not be behind the computer every single day of the week. I mean, sounds like fake news to me as well, but regardless, I wasn't here yesterday. I mean, I prepared yesterday's video on Saturday. I'm always excited on a Monday morning to get back into StarCraft. So spawning here in the bottom left-hand corner of Blackburn. That's gonna be map number 1 in this series. Playing with the blue Zerg drones from Ukraine, we have Bly. His opponent in the bottom right, playing with the red Terran SCVs from France. We're looking at MarineLorD's main command center. Now, I was just having a quick look at my YouTube analytics, right? So I try and not really look at the numbers all too much because I mean, I watch a lot of other YouTubers myself as well, and I know that a lot of YouTubers especially get caught up in the numbers. Sometimes I get myself stuck in that number game as well, where you're just paying attention to how many views your videos are getting and like how many ad plays and whether or not people are clicking on the title and the thumbnail and what your click-through rate is. And it's very, very easy to obsess over the little details. I try and not really do so too often, but I did have a look at the YouTube views of the recent couple of videos, and it turns out that the previous Bly video I uploaded, it did fairly well. Apparently that video is now close to like 150,000 views, which is like, I don't know, 2 to 3 times as much as the average video gets on my channel these days. So I figured, let us have a look at what this man recently did against MarineLorD. I don't know what happens in this series either. I mean, in the previous one that I casted between him and Lambo, let's just say that Bly felt very cheesy. He felt very cheesy, and a lot of you really enjoyed it. I haven't really covered MarineLorD too often on the channel. In case you're unfamiliar, I mean, I really do want to... I've been trying to do this recently as well, right? But I really do want to feature a larger variety of pro gamers on the channel. So MarineLorD, as will be making this video, he's a really good Terran player. He's considered to be the rank 13 when it comes to playing with the Terran pieces in the world. Bly likewise actually the number 13 when it comes to playing with the Zerg drones, which, yeah, definitely puts them both at a very, very high rank. The thing is, obviously, whenever there's replay packs available, and I see Clem's name in there, I see Cyril's name in there, I see Raynor in there, I see Dark, I see, you know, Stats, I see Trap. I mean, I will pretty much always prioritize those guys, but there's no denying that there's a lot of very good players out there, and, yeah, we'll see exactly how good MarineLorD is right now. MarineLorD actually recently looking very strong, especially. Being very obnoxious already with this first Reaper over here. Forcing out 2 of those Spore Crawlers here, and also, since the SCV there was patrolling for a little bit, delaying the 3rd base for the Zerg for quite some time. Bly actually now opting to go for 2 additional Queens here instead. So double inject as well in the bases, actually. That is quite important. Plus, he's still got 3 drones in gas. Pretty sure you have to go for some sort of aggression here. Or I guess a lair. He could also go for a lair. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if he plans down a roach warren here in a little bit and starts marching the roaches across. The problem is MarineLorD knows of the lack of a 3rd. And at that point, Zerg is kind of limited when it comes to their early game options. Okay, so it is going to be a lair. Cool. We'll see exactly what he decides to go for here shortly. Most of the time, when you see players do this at this level, it's gonna be a Muta opener, but with Bly, I don't want to make any assumptions. MarineLorD already has gone for the triple CC opener, and this is a really wonderful start right here for the Terran player. So even if it is gonna be that Muta start, so it is gonna be 3 gas right now as a follow-up here as well from Bly, so I think it has to be Mutas. No Roach Warren either, so yeah, I think it has to be. Probably will go for the 3rd base relatively soon. When you go for this sort of opener as a Terran player, usually you're going to be pretty happy. So you've successfully delayed the 3rd base from the Zerg. If you can defend against that first influx of like flippy flappies that will go across the map, you're going to be a pretty happy Terran player. Because even if you lose a bunch of workers, triple CC will catch up in that eco count relatively easily. Especially when he goes for the double upgrades here before the Zerg player will. Which oftentimes seems to be the case with Marine starts, and yeah, so it is going to be that Spire when you go up against the Spire this quickly. I mean, the Bailing Nest is going to be pretty fast, but Bly is definitely not going to start up Evos here just yet. The normal thing to do is to go for 1 round of Mutalisks first. Then you go for Baneling speed, and then eventually you transition towards a couple of those Evo Chamber upgrades. So assuming MarineLorD starts up his NG base before that point, I think he should be in a pretty comfortable position. Alright, so we've got ourselves a relatively normal macro start. This is one of those builds, by the way, that I remember Cyril playing like 2 years ago at this point, maybe a year ago or so. He was playing this very regularly on a bunch of the maps. Basically on the maps where it was difficult to take a third, he was playing this all the time. Since then, I haven't really seen Cyril play it ever, I don't know, ever again. I mean, he did it for a few months and then he was like, yeah, no. Maybe he's been playing it once again, I'm not sure. But generally speaking, it seems to me that people copy kind of what, well, maybe not Bly, but people pretty much always seem to copy whatever Cyril and Ren are doing. Alright. Double medevac drop. This could get kind of awkward. I mean, not necessarily, because obviously 16 Marines, or I guess 14 Marines in this case, are still going to be able to get quite a lot of work done. Scanner right now reveals as well that the Spire is finishing up, so perfect movement right there for MarineLorD. He does need to be careful, though, because obviously if you get overwhelmed, I mean, it's going to be very difficult for those Marines to get out when the Mutas are going to try and kill those Medivacs. Yeah, so there's the 1-1 started. This is what I mean. I never really liked this start too much for Zerk. Maybe Bly can show us why he does like it. Marines in, or sorry, Mutas in general are always a little bit, I don't know. They're good, but like also very flimsy, right? So if you lose any Mutas here, it's actually really quite bad. Alright. Anyways, don't want to like, you know, make it sound like Bly is in a bad spot here or whatever. He's definitely not. We've just got ourselves a macro start where one player is going Mutaling Bane, and Bly apparently is already gonna grab the golden base right here on Blackburn as well. Okay, so MarineLorD's transition here. Just good old Bio Terran, right? Nothing too out of the ordinary. Combat Shield is done right now as well. Stimpack obviously already finished. He's just gonna go for the Marine Marauder Medevac composition. Missile turret finishes right in time. Great move right there by MarineLorD. Finishing it up perfectly. He does need to be careful though, because there's a ton of Banelings here on the high ground. Scouting this is actually really nice. Okay, so he sees the units here. Is there gonna be enough at this point? Oof, okay. For the Terran player to defend against this. I really think that maybe Zerk could have committed. The problem is, yeah, the Zerk doesn't know where the Widow Mines are, right? We can obviously see that the Widow Mines right here are trying to hide in obnoxious locations where they can hopefully catch a couple of those Mutas off guard. Obviously, it's more common to have them spread out at the front, so that's probably why he didn't commit right there with the Banelings. Alright, and we've got ourselves a, yeah, fairly normal game right here. So only just now, this is kind of what I'm talking about. Only just now, +1 Carapace starts up for the Zerk, and I guess +1 melee here soon as well. I mean, if he doesn't forget it. That would kind of suck. Whereas Terran has already finished up 1-1. It's, I don't know. Has this opener really paid for itself? I'm not sure. Great start right here for MarineLorD, that's for sure. Obviously, he will still need to micro these units very efficiently. Well, you don't really go for that many Hellions here, right? It's quite difficult to keep that creep spread at bay, so he's been trying his very best as far as that goes. But the creep is quite far out, meaning that it's quite difficult for these Terra units to actually get work done. Okay, hitting the mineral line right now over at the gold base from the back. Poor Ultralisk trophy right there in the middle. Alright, instead Zerk is going to go for a counterattack. Okay, good split right there by Bly. Ooh. Okay, that is a big hit right there, but obviously those Mutas will regenerate health relatively easily too. At the same time, there is a bit of a fight happening in the center of the map, but it looks like MarineLorD is winning that one as well. A lot of Mutas ended up going down here, and honestly, this is... yeah, this is a very large advantage right now for the Terran. 2-2 was a little bit late. So that's not ideal. But this is definitely a game where MarineLorD seems to be feeling comfortable. He's very good at playing those standard macro games. And this is that to a T. Yeah, so you gotta take this slow, right, if you're a Terran player. So, ooh, hold up. Let me back off for just a second. I guess it was a couple Banelings. Okay. These are kind of difficult to spot now when there's movement all over the minimap. Yeah, so while the Terran here is busy, there's a couple of Banelings that distract the Terran as well. And at the very least, we'll be able to kill a bunch of those workers. What I was going to try and say is that when the creep spread is this far out, it's really difficult for a Terran player to get into a good spot to actually fight this kind of army. So you got to take it slow. Killing a creep tumor here and there, really important. Fort CC, only about halfway done as well. As far as the worker count goes, Zerk is still feeling very nice. But yeah, I love what MarineLorD is doing over here. Just slowly moving forward. Trying to buy as much time as possible. New hatchery acquired down south, but that one's going to be a long while until it finishes. So at this point, I mean, Zerk has, yeah, oversaturated all of their bases. Main is starting to run out as well. Time to clear some of that creep in the center of the map too. It is important to not overstay your welcome, obviously, but I love the minefield over here, literally. At least MarineLorD is living up to his nickname, right? Marines primarily. Couple of Widow Mines added into the mix as well. Couple Medivacs. Yeah, he's playing Bly like a fiddle so far. Countering this build perfectly. Not really running into a whole lot of problems. Okay. With all of these rocks up, it's quite difficult for Zerk to set up a good engagement as well. I love this. Thor now added into the mix too. I'm assuming... Oh, Drilling Claws. Okay, I was going to say, I'm assuming Drilling Claws is done. But that one's finishing up fairly soon as well. No 3-3 started yet. Which makes me wonder if MarineLorD maybe wants to go for an all-in push. Bio Army going around the back. Killing the Golden Expo. Zerk at the same time going in for a run-by over at the third base of the Terran. Planetary Fortress will probably be coming up at the fourth. Bio Army in the top left will pick up into the Medivacs. I gotta try and get out of there. These Zerklings will be cleaned up as well. Most of the SCVs will stay alive, but the Medivacs do get chased down right here, and the Mutas finally get some value in. I really don't like the Muta openers anymore, man. I sound like a negative, what do you call that? Negative Nancy? I think that's what the saying is. Anyways, I sound very negative talking about Mutas, but like, this entire opener from Bly has been based around the Muta, and like, finally they've gotten a little bit of work done, but overall, I don't know. Four Medivacs in total have gone down this game. Careful though, with that Widow Mine over there. Yeah, you can accidentally kill your own mineral line if you're not careful. Medivac. Couple of speedy boys in here. I love the double missile turret, by the way, over here, protecting the production. It's kind of clever. Don't see that all too often, but it makes it difficult for the Zerk here to commit. Once again, a couple of banelings here, but it looks like the response time was correct by MarineLorD, who's now at a dominating advantage. I mean, again, it's... if you take, like, all of these risks, right, to get the Mutas out this early on, you delay your upgrades, you delay your third base, you delay all those things, you gotta get some sort of value here as a response. So maybe now the Mutas can finally get some work done, but... I'm just not a huge fan. Oh, God. Okay, Thor's right here in the front, soaking up a lot of the Baneling hits as well. Don't know if it was target firing down the Banelings, but it almost seemed like it. I find it hard to believe that you can find the APM to do so, but regardless, game number 1 goes confidently in favor of the Terran. Alrighty, so map 2 in this series will be a Romanticide. Yeah, very clean game right there by MarineLorD. Not really in any trouble at any point in the game. I think he was a little bit late on the upgrades. But he seemed to have read his opponent very well. Not committing to too many Hellions there and all that. Like, when you see your opponent not going for a quick third hatch, you don't really need that many Hellions. I mean, it's obviously nice to keep a couple of Hellions around to try and push that creep spread back and all that, but... yeah, he just dealt with that in the mid-game a little bit more efficiently instead. Taking it very slow. And it turns out slow and steady wins the race. Romanticide is normally our more macro-focused map because of this large ramp that leads up to both the natural expansion as well as the third. It's quite easy, relatively easy, to defend all of the different bases. So usually you can get away with relatively greedy play. Once again, hatch gas pool right here from Bly, I think. There we go. One drone goes on over to the minerals, the next goes to the gas, and the one after that goes to the spawning pool location. The standard is to go for a 16 hatch, 18 supply gas geyser, and 17 supply spawning pool. MarineLorD will be following this up as well with a command center on the low ground, as expected. It's gonna go orbital command, of course, and he will need to send out a worker as well to the other side of the map. I mean, I don't think you can skip this against Bly. Against other opponents, we do see Terran players skipping the SCV scout regularly, but I mean, I don't like skipping it in the first place. I think you should go for it pretty much every single time. But especially against Bly, you really don't want to, like, cut any corners here in the earlier stage of the game. I mean, the only reason why you want to cut this corner is if, obviously, you want to, like, harvest ever so slightly more minerals, because this will cost you a little bit. But if you send that Reaper across the map blindly, and it just so happens to be a pull first, you're in a lot of trouble. Bly once again leaving the drones in gas, not pulling out at 60. I think that's why MarineLorD is actually patrolling right here with the SCV as well for a little bit. So normally we see a lot of Zerg players pulling the drones out of gas, so 2 of them out of gas at 60 supply to try and take the third base faster. In this case, MarineLorD would have been able to, like, delay that third base because the SCV could have blocked it. So once again, this is going to be a late third base here for Zerg. I mean, he can obviously get it here once the queen is out. So what you can do is go creep tumor and then push Brenda, the queen itself, to the third base to try and shoo that Reaper away. You could also go for the low ground third. I actually like what MarineLorD was doing there, patrolling the SCV back and forth so he could block whichever third base, you know, the Zerg wanted to go for. So once again, it's double inject, I guess. Yep, double inject. 4 queens in total really quickly. Three Zerglings end up going down already. The Reaper guy is still alive. Very good control here so far by MarineLorD. So he has gone for the transition here once again towards a third command center, which I love. Okay, so Bly does have plenty of gas, by the way, to go for a lair if he wants to. I guess it's once again going to be that Muta start. I mean... it didn't work out in my last game, so I'm not sure. So Zergling right here scouts the front. Sees the timing here of everything. So he's even going to go for the most safe follow-up, it seems, as well. So no starport. He's going to go for a second barracks here instead. Once again, producing only a couple of Hellions. And then going straight into that marine production once more. There's the lair, finally. There's the third hatch. Okay. So this is a later lair. If I'm not mistaken, Zerg ended up going for the lair basically after the third and the fourth queen popped out of the hatchery. So maybe Bly has got a different plan in mind. Bunker at the front. There's finally that starport. Yeah, so this is nice because you can pump out a lot of units. If it's going to be like a roach-based push or something along those lines. There it is. 4 gases in total, but this time around a roach warren. If it's a roach-based push, getting more marines out is obviously nice, right? Very important. Overlord over here gets killed. I guess it has to be a Nidus? Is it going to be a Nidus? Yep, there it is. Okay. So Nidus makes a little bit of sense here because... I mean, MarineLorD is going to have a tough time scouting this, even though it's kind of out in the open there. He's going to have a pretty hard time scouting this. I've seen Bly do this before, where he, like, poops creep and then, like, he puts down a creep tumor. Maybe he doesn't want to do it here. Oh, okay. I was going to say, maybe he wants to save up a little bit of energy on these queens. Anyways, I like that. It's one of the more underutilized moves in StarCraft. Either way. Oof. This is an Overlord with a plan, if I'm not mistaken. It's been sent across the map. Couple of marines here at the front as well. It's been sent across the map, though, to provide vision inside of the main base of the Terran player. And there comes the Nidus Worm. MarineLorD and Marines, or Terran players rather, in general, have a tendency to build all of their structures close together because that way they can efficiently swap the add-ons around. A couple of Zerglings manage to get into the natural, but they serve as a huge distraction while the Nidus Worm pops inside of the main base. The Queens have arrived as well with this Zerg Roach army. And this is a disaster right now for the Terran player. Keep in mind, he does still have triple command center, so if he can kill this in time, he can replace most of his eco relatively smoothly. The Queens actually end up taking a lot of damage here as well. Now the Marines come up once again through that ramp. Second Nidus Worm in the back of the production here. But so many SCVs are falling already. I think you can lose 20. I think 20 is actually okay. But 30 is already starting to push it, and it doesn't look like this army is dealt with just yet. 34, 35. I mean, mules are good, right? Mules are good, but I don't think they're going to be that good, right? Look at the income here for the Terran player. It is going to go up. It is going to go up for a little bit. Another Knight is over here out at the third base. It is going to go up once these mules start returning some money. The problem is, at this point, the Medivacs are also without energy. And Bly is not letting go of this pressure. No Banshee opener or anything along those lines here either, obviously. So even getting rid of those queens doesn't really... I mean, it doesn't make that much of a difference. They're still going to be annoying, obviously. SCV's pulled once again from the mineral line. And this is going from bad to worse. Great distraction right there by Bly. Running the Zerglings into the natural, forcing the Terran player to deal with that. Showing the exact same start as he did in game number 1 as well. So his opponent probably once again put him on a Mutalisk start. And Bly at this point has killed how many workers? 48. We're coming up on 50 workers. There you go. 50 workers at the 7-minute mark. Believe it or not, that is not ideal. GG is called in game number 2. Goes in favor of the Ukrainian Zerg. Alrighty, and our final map for today will be Lightshade. So Bly winning game 2 with a good old Knight is all in. It's one of those strategies that hasn't really fallen out of favor because of the fact that, like, it got nerfed or anything along those lines. I mean, it did get nerfed, like, I don't know, 2 years ago or so at this point. The Nidus network used to be more powerful than that. Either way, it's one of those strategies that has fallen out of favor because Terran players at the pro level have gotten very good at dealing with it. So the biggest problem that you run into as a Terran player is when that Nidus worm goes up inside of your main base unscouted, right? So either you want to see the Nidus network on the Zerg side of things, so you either scan or you like run one of the Hellions in that direction and you just happen to scout it. That's obviously great, so that way you can prepare against that sort of shenanigans. Or you have like a supply depot in the corner of your base or like a Marine patrolling back and forth. I mean, there's a couple of ways in which you can prevent that Nidus worm from going up in the first place. I mean, if MarineLorD would have spotted it, he could have run a couple of Zerglings, a couple of Marines into the main base, and then maybe he could have shut it down before it even finished, although he did have links over in his natural expansion, so that was kind of unfortunate. Either way, Bly ended up winning that game there. But there's no denying that that strategy does require a little bit of luck. I mean, if he would have been scouted and the Nidus worm in the main base would have been killed, I mean, don't forget the second OV that was like stuck between the natural expansion and the main base in that dead space. That one ended up getting killed as well, like 2 minutes or so earlier. Well, I think he probably would have gone for a Nidus worm then at the third base, and then tried to go for like a delayed push through the front. But that makes it a whole lot harder for the Zerg player to pull off. Anyways, Lightshade Ellie, standard macro map most of the time. Pretty good map for Zerg players. So we'll see what ends up going down here. Looks like we have standard starts here for both of these. I like what MarineLorD... Yeah, so I was wondering if he was going to do it again. I like what this man is doing, right? So on Lightshade, you have this is your third base and this is your third base. If a drone would be heading in this direction right now, I can guarantee you that the SCV would follow it around. So Bly is apparently just mining 100 gas here, going instantly into link speed, leaving the drones in the gas once again. Maybe he wants to just do the same build 3 times in a row. Or at least the same, like, 2-base start. Oh, ugh. Losing a worker there is not what you want. Anyways, I really like that SCV patrol. It's very annoying when your third base is not acquired at the appropriate time, although link speed was cancelled and the roach horn has been planted down here instead. Okay, so the reason he started up link speed was just in case that Reaper would go straight into the main base. It would see the wiggle in the spawning pool, and that way, you know, it would know that something is researching in there. This is going to be a very aggressive push right here from Bly. How many roaches can he actually afford? So at the 3-minute mark, this thing is already done. So there is another queen coming up. Is it just going to be 5? Okay. No, he's going to add on a couple more. Okay, it's going to be 7. I like the 5 roach opener. That one's pretty powerful. Ooh. This is actually not great here for the Terran player either. Ugh, losing 2 SCVs already. Maybe even losing that Marine. The Reaper is now also forced to return back home. And this is actually a disaster right now for the Terran. Because, I mean, he's once again scouted the same thing that he scouted in the first 2 games. This time around, though, that Reaper is at home and he doesn't know that the roaches are marching. So he's not going to find out about these roaches until the last possible moment. There's a bunker coming up blindly, so that's something MarineLorD was doing here every game, but Bly actually now dodging the center of the map as well, knowing very well that that Reaper, or sorry, that Reaper army, I guess, at this point, this little hit squad, would once more go through the center. Maybe this is something, though, that can get some work done? But no, he's expecting a couple of links on the back of that with link speed. So 2 Ravagers, 5 Roaches, Overlord in the main base, scouting that once again it's a triple CC start. At this point, though, he must realize that something is not quite right, and he's going to see exactly what's happening. Well, that bunker, I don't think it's going to achieve too much. It will be killed right away. That's 100 minerals down the drain. Reaper over here will be killed too. A couple of Hellions come driving back home. The problem is Hellions versus Roaches? I'm not so sure. Yeah, so a couple of Roaches are split off from the pack. Ravagers here biling down whatever they can. And once more, man, I think if you kill like 7 or so SCVs, you're going to be in a good spot with this opener. Maybe 8. I'm not sure. Either way, what I'm trying to get at is that we're already... we're already way above that. Oh my god, even a ball connecting right there with a couple Marines. That is not ideal whatsoever. I don't know exactly what the number is. So I know with like the 5 Roach opener, you're aiming to kill like 5 SCVs. Maybe you need more than what I was saying, right? Maybe you need like 10 with this opener when you go for 7 Roaches, but... either way, there's no way that this is not an advantage right now for Bly. Lair is a follow-up. Third hatchery is a follow-up. He was droning during most of that time as well. Link speed finally starts up, so maybe... there's only... yeah, no, the Hellions obviously were killed there. I was gonna say, maybe the Hellions can do some work here as a counterattack. This is the biggest Bly move over here. Like, hey guys, don't mind me. Okay. So what do you do here as MarineLorD? I think you effectively have 2 choices, but with the 3rd CC start, the best one is probably just to try and play catch-up. I don't really like it. Yeah, so this would have looked a little bit differently if the scouting was, like, if those couple of links, man. It's those few Zerglings. It's those really minor moves that Bly makes that makes it so much more powerful. So look, once again, he's expecting a Nidus Worm. Either way, like, we saw that in the second game as well. Here comes another little hit squad. This is a bit of a weird one. Man, he's actually just going for another push. Yeah, this is another wave. I'm not too familiar with this one. Anyways, like, it's the same in game number 2, where he first ran a couple of Zerglings to the natural expansion, and then the Nidus Worm in the main base came up uncontested. The 4 links over here that killed the Marine, and then I think 2 SCVs too. Like, that was really nice. No siege tanks or anything here either, right? Because he's been playing, well, Marine Mine here for the most part. There are Zerglings somewhere. Okay, I was gonna say. Bly, piling on the pressure. Does follow this up with 13 drones right now. Okay. And this push, I mean, it gets shoved back. What's important to note here is that MarineLorD does still have a very nice amount of Marines, right? So these Marines obviously gain a lot of value. Stimpak combat shield is done. Sadly, no +1 infantry weapons. But basically what I'm trying to get at is that this does open up an opportunity for him to go for a push. So at this point, Bly doesn't really know exactly how many workers he can make before he needs to make a transition. So he's going 1-1, he's going Roach speed, but he's mostly just droning. This is a little bit dangerous, right? So there's 4 Roaches out and 3 Ravagers. Yeah. Now this Marine squad over here, this does not mess around. This is a strong army. Okay. Looks like there's just barely enough for the Zerg player to deflect this for now. Marines go into the main base. Double Evo, they're exposed. Yeah, I don't mind him target firing that one down. Okay, that's something. That is definitely nice. So these upgrades are going to be very late. I guess MarineLorD has been kind of broken this game, so he needs to do something. But not only does he provide a little bit of counter pressure right now to his Zerg opponent, he's also landing the 3rd base. Pretty much uncontested. Well, at least uncontested in the last 2 minutes. He's been contested for the most part in this game, but... Yep, those mules are helping out a lot. There's a siege tank in here too, I think. Okay. 4 medevacs filled with units. Careful now, though, MarineLorD. Hello, hello. Whew. I mean, that tank position over there is not bad, although corrosive biles are in range. 2 more biles follow this up as well, so that siege tank is gone. I don't think there's enough. No, what are we... I don't know why we're giving up a bunch of Marines there. Okay. So these are the type of games where Bly always seems to be very, very happy. This always seems to be the type of game where he shines. Roach Ravager is very good until Terran finishes up 3-3 bio upgrades, but we're like 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Oh, God. Medivac goes down there. We're a lot of time away from that particular moment is what I'm trying to get at. Either way, 1-1 is starting up. Can we get some, like, Marauders? Or, you know... And I know your name is MarineLorD and stuff, but can we get, like, a little bit of variety? I wouldn't mind it. Infestors added on to the mix as well. Okay. I mean, fungal growth against his marine-based force is not bad. Tunneling Claws coming up. Burrow also researching. Okay. And a Hive. Spores around the base. Bly plays his entirely different flavor of Zerg really well. I like it. Okay, so finally, we did have, I think, a Marauder. Yay, there he is. Look at this bad boy. What a legend. I think Marauders are not a bad idea here at all. Although he did, he hit a bit of a supply block. Okay, 5 depots. 5 depots started up at once. Ugh. Those are the kind of moves that are very expensive though, right? Armory is also late, so 2-2 is gonna not be in time. Yeah, those are the type of moves that make it very difficult to play against this sort of style. Like, I'm trying to imagine what would, like, a Clem do, right? Another French Terran player. What would Clem do against this sort of thing? Well, I can almost guarantee you that Clem would be 100% on time with the NG base. He would not be making 5 supply depots at once. He would be playing just a little bit cleaner. You know what I mean? And it's probably those little moves that make all the difference. I mean, I can only imagine anyway. I'm not sure. I just don't see Clem dying to, like, these sort of pushes very easily. So once again, Roaches are ready to go for a push. With Tunneling Claws, they can burrow and move underground. Missile turrets, though, are detectors. So MarineLorD scouts it at this point. Look at the creep threat, by the way. Creep threat looking pretty nice. During all of this... Oh, Bly has gone for a Greater Spire. Okay. So he's going +1 melee right now, too. Hive is done. Greater Spire, Infestors, Roach Ravager into Brute Lords. Gotcha. Okay. So how exactly is this fight gonna go then, right? So I think this should be a fight with 2-2. Sadly, that is not done just yet. Oh my god! Okay, I'm gonna back off for a second. Sorry, I was looking at these roaches, and I think MarineLorD may very well have been looking at the same thing. So there's roaches patrolling back and forth, so Bly can see the exact movement here of the army. I don't think the infestors at this point have been spotted yet. This is not normally the location where you meet this Terran army head-on in the choke point, but my god, okay. That were some absolute killer fungal growths. Missile turret range, though, does not, you know, guarantee that you spot exactly what's going on. I was wondering how that push would be cleaned up, especially with a double drop right here on the left side of the map. I guess that's the way. MarineLorD can target fire down this hatchery only once, but I feel like the drones are just going to transfer to the 12 o'clock position. Fungal growth, corrosive bile. It's a very strong combo. When you're on the move, it doesn't really matter because then the Medivacs will just simply fly out of it. Right now, things are just about to get very awkward. 7 additional Corruptor startup and 2 Brute Lords are already morphing. So we're talking 3 base Terran. I guess he's got a 4th CC done right now, but we're talking 3 base Terran effectively, who's now very Marauder Siege Tank focused to try and deal with those freaking Roaches and Ravagers. And guess what his next order of business is going to be? It's going to be Brute Lords. I mean, he has no idea that this is happening. He's scanning creep over here. Like, I don't know exactly what killing the creep over here is going to do. I guess MarineLorD wants to play the long game, but I think he really needs to find out what his opponent's next order of business is, because if you don't have anything against, like, 10 Brute Lords and they show up suddenly, I've got a feeling you're in a lot of trouble. Like, clearing the creep, I don't get me wrong, I like it, but I don't think this is the moment for it. Once upon a time, right, fungal growth was like a complete root. These days, it's just a little bit of damage and obviously a slowdown as well, a very significant slowdown. But at the very least, there's counterplay now. So there's 3-3 started. This is usually the moment when these finish up at the very least that Roaches and Ravagers fall off. But Lingbane, Broodlord, and Fester, I think, is what this is going to be followed up with. A couple of Liberators now added into the mix, too. He still has not got an idea about these Broodlords. I'm pretty sure he hasn't seen them yet. I'm not sure. Maybe he has seen them. But, like, look at this. Look at this army. It's going to get trashed by just... Oh, the Queens and the Broodlords are together. Okay. Ling's now moving on over towards the third base. Couple of the Broodlords now show themselves as they shoot the little Broodlings right there at this Terran Bio army. The Queens have a lot of energy for transfusion, though, and at this point, I mean, there's very little anti-air. I mean, there's Liberators here that tickle these units to death, kind of like sentries, but upon seeing the Broodlords and having the units in his third base, MarineLorD realizes that he has been outsmarted in this game, and that does mean that Bly is the one who obtains the victory. Hope you enjoyed watching this series. If you did, please take the 1 second that it takes to hit that like button down below. If you made it all the way until the end at the very least, that would be nice. But other than that, I want to thank you for watching. Have a great day. Don't forget to smile, and I hope to see you once again in the next one.